Live from the Motor City, all the way to the Volunteer State. It's time for the Reckless Speculation Podcast, where we recklessly speculate the latest news in the world of sports. From college football to NASCAR, we've got you covered. And don't forget to stick around for the world-famous Bet Your Nuts, where we will give you your best bets to make the most money. Now sit back, grab your favorite drink of choice, and join Robbie Davis, Raj Mehta, Brandon Chain, and Tom Sloan. It's showtime. Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Reckless Speculation Podcast. I am your host, I guess for 25% of the way tonight. I am Tom. The other guys are going to chime in here just a bit. A little bit of news coming out of NCAA this week with the court hearing between the Volunteers, Robbie's Volunteers, and the NCAA over their NIL deal. So we're going to hit on that. Some craziness in Wake Forest last week with the fans there storming in the court and Duke star center getting hurt. Is it time to maybe outlaw storming the court, or is that just part of the game? We're going to hit on that as well. Of course, can't have a show without talking about NFL. We got the salary cap raising. So we're going to discuss which teams kind of benefit the most out of that. And on top of that, we have free agency coming up and some rumors coming out of both Chicago and Minnesota, which is definitely news to my ears in the NFC North with the Lions. And then we're going to close out with a crazy finish last week in NASCAR with Atlanta, with Daniel Suarez coming in with his first Cup Series win. 3 wide at the finish. Man, that was wild. So Robbie and I are probably going to talk about that because God knows the other guys don't want to hear about it. But we're going to start in here with the rest of the crew. We're going to start with Robbie Davis. Robbie, what's up, my friend?
I am doing fantastic. I'm on no sleep. I went to the Tennessee-Auburn game last night. As you can see in my logo in Dalton, I trust. What a performance. 39 points. He was on fire. Great atmosphere. Little sleep. Depositions all day today, but happy to be here.
Adulting is a bit of a drag from time to time, but Brandon Chain, you probably weren't in depositions all day, and you weren't at the Tennessee game, but how you doing tonight?
Doing pretty good. Some of the meetings could lead to depositions after I had today, so we'll see. But, no, everything's good, all good. A little exhausted. It's been a long week so far, but looking forward to this show for sure. We got some exciting topics, being a dead time this year. So, I think it's going to be a great show.
For sure. And as we were speaking pre-show, today is February 29th, 2024.
Leap year.
Once every every 4 years,
yes.
Raj makes it on time.
And the one and only Raj Mehta is in the building for show start. Raj, what's up?
Like Rob said, it's like the fucking Olympics, bro. Like once every 4 years it happens, and then I'll see you on March 1st.
Yeah. Well, we're glad to have you. And like I said, I'm going to do about 25% of the show, and then the aforementioned Raj is going to take over. But with that being said, and I know my wife's on the other side of the wall, probably cringing as I say that, we're starting off with Robbie's and Raj's wheelhouse here. Tennessee versus NCAA. NCAA tried to kind of stick it to Tennessee with putting caps on what they can do, what they couldn't do, NIL. Tennessee said, whoa. We're not going to play that, Jack. And they took them to court. And seems like the judge ruled in their favor. So, Raj, I'll start with you. Give us a quick kind of rundown of the scenario, what happened and what you know, and what the verdict really was.
Basically the NIL rules are an ever evolving thing. And for those that don't know, students are now allowed to capitalize on their name, image, and likeness. And it is sort of based upon their value, if you will. For example, with the new EA sports games, they can opt in. Essentially, what the NCAA is saying is that cannot be used as an inducement towards recruiting new players to come here, thereby creating unfair competition where the big boys have enough money to throw at 18-year-olds who have never even proved themselves on the field. As of now, they require a letter of intent signed, some sort of participation in practices, fall practices, spring, I believe, among other things. Tennessee got caught with their hand in the cookie jar again. They rightfully stated that really what we all know, that the NCAA is a fucking joke. And really what they said is that they filed a restraining order injunction just to stop the NCAA from saying or doing anything, and said the NCAA is defending this world that doesn't exist, that's not regulated, essentially saying, who the hell are they anyways? What do they do and when and why? At that point, the NCAA denied, both of those sort of statements, if you will. I can't recall the actual adjudication. I think it was on Valentine's Day or the day before. But, really it came down to Nico from Long Beach, California, and getting $8 million in advance. And, it's a slippery slope, but it's an undefined slope. But really, the NCAA states they prohibit NIL compensation to protect amateurism, competition, and athletes. And if you can just throw money out to get kids to go wherever, it may not be a great fit. And they called it, quote, coercive contracts or coercive measures. And Tennessee, who just got hit with $8 million, 200 violations, just right before that, $8 million fine, which is actually a lot for what they got hit for under Pruitt. They, in a sense, they cheated. I know they went ahead to Nico. I've talked to some people. I'm not putting that on a message board, which means I'm not as full of shit as most. But it's one of those, it happens everywhere. But yeah, it's dangerous. And we'll get into this. I want to hear your guys' takes, because pretty soon it's just going to be, one class of, 10 schools that have the money to compete, and the rest, fuck them.
Yeah. Robbie, you're the resident volunteer fan here, and this affects your school that you're a graduate from. And for me, the NCAA was all over my Michigan Wolverines. So I can get a sense how you feel about the situation. Where does Tennessee kind of stand in this after this verdict? Let me hear what you have to think.
Yeah, so there's lots to unpack here. One, Tennessee is going to be the hero school on two fronts. One, they're the hero school for the universities, and also they have given the NCAA an off-ramp. Whether they choose to take it or not, we shall see. And I'll get to that, but I want to talk about Tennessee first. So Raj is correct in some, incorrect in some. So the basis of this violation was the Tennessee collective, this NIL conglomerate, went to Nico and said, hey, if you come to Tennessee, we'll give you this and blah, 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 $8 million, whatever it was. The NCAA said it's against the rules for you to negotiate NILs before you're a student until you're enrolled at a school. The equivalent of that would be, hey, I want to interview with a coaching position. I like what you have, but we can't talk salary till I sign a contract. Well, that's a violation of fair trade. And so that obviously is unconstitutional. So that the NCAA was dead on arrival. As like And so the reason the NCAA is lucky, so they got an injunction. So basically, Tennessee got a temporary restraining order, temporary injunction, but the judge was very clear. And when you grant these temporary injunctions, you have to make findings of fact that say, I'm granting this injunction, meaning this pause in what you're asking for, because you are unlikely to win at trial. So the judge went out of his way to say, you, NCAA, you are unlikely to win at trial. Thus, you're hurting student athletes while this case is pending. Now, this gets me to the off ramp. So the NCAA has an off ramp. They can say, look, we have lost NIL deal. We have we had years figured out we messed it up. But we can now say your NIL collectives, whatever your boosters want to do, they do their own thing. We can't control them because the judge said the NCAA has no jurisdiction over a non-party in the NCAA membership, meaning boosters. They cannot control boosters. So the NCAA can say
These are sports collectives. They're not boosters. And I would argue something different, but go ahead.
No, they're boosters, collectives, whatever you want to call them. Either way, they're not members of the institution, so the NCAA cannot control them. However, the NCAA, if they can get their act together fast enough, they can control the members. So what they can do is the NCAA can say, all right, it's okay to pay players. It's okay to do sponsorship. It's okay to do whatever. However, coaches directly cannot do it. And so they can say, we are just going to monitor the coaches. Coaches can't pay for play. Boosters can pay whatever they want to pay, but coaches can't. So we still have a function. We still have a lifeline of saying we can control the coaches, which also benefits the coaches. Because what do we hear about Nick Saban, different Chip Kelly, different coaches leaving, the Boston College coach leaving a head coach job for offensive coordinator. We're tired of dealing with this nonsense. Mm-hmm. Let the coaches say, hey, I can't offer you money. Tell these guys what you want. See if they can come up with it. And so it helps the coach. This is the only avenue I see the NCAA surviving is something like, let's agree to the rules. Let's take the coaches out of paying players, take the coaches out of doing McDonald's bags, which is famous in Tennessee. No more tattoo parlors with Ohio State. No more houses with Reggie Bush. No more
cheeseburgers in Ann Arbor.
Cheeseburgers in Ann Arbor. Let the coaches just say, I can't do it, but someone else can. I can point you to the exact people that can help you.
Who better to assess them than coaches? And the initial argument in response by Tennessee attorney Tom Mars had said that, this is merely evaluation, regardless of the chosen school where this individual could go, just so he understands essentially what his value may be, his rights, etc. And to put it in chain perspective, that's like saying this 4,500 square foot house is this amount, and we're not considering Los Angeles on the beach versus northern Mississippi. It was a bullshit response to that. And the law is entirely unregulated in that. And an injunction was what was going to happen, because really, what are the grounds to say otherwise based on what the NCAA is and its positioning? The Sherman antitrust law, for those that don't know, basically says that generally is it against unreasonably restraining trade. And you could throw a lot of shit under that, and it's kind of just mucks up the situation more. But one thing the NCAA said, which I agree with, is that these conversations should occur after the player enrolls, with this day with the transfer portal and that type of flexibility. And maybe that will be the case. Nico, God forbid, blows out something, never plays again, and the Tennessee collective boosters lose $50 million. Then I guarantee you regulation will come to protect them, because that's where the money is. So, it's like a Deshaun Watson contract at this point. An unproven player dictating the market based on what a school is willing to pay for it.
Yeah. And one more thing real quick is like there's the practicality thing of things that there's 50 states and there's probably, at least in basketball, there's 330 something Division I programs. In football, I think there's 117 or whatever. That's 117 legal departments versus one. The schools can bankrupt the ACC on legal fees alone, NCAA alone, if they choose to. Tennessee and Virginia are going to get close alone. Add Florida, add Texas, add California. NCAA is going down.
Bankrupt the NCAA on legal fees.
Yeah.
Well, one quick thing. Let's not, dodge the elephant in the room here. The NCAA opened up this can of worms.
Oh, sure
they did this to themselves, right? And now they're trying to backtrack and grab at any string they can and have some type of control and presence when, the bus is gone. Like, it's leaving them right now. And they're lucky, like you said, if they can get their shit together, then maybe they can still play and make a profit and claim to have hold over college football. Otherwise, all they have is a March Madness. I mean, that's
Brandon, that's a great point. Imagine if there was no Reggie Bush investigation, no Ohio State investigation. Like, what if they just sat back and collected their money and just didn't do anything and just sat there and be like, yeah, we don't do anything, but hey, we're getting rich.
Last thing I'll tell you is
exactly
the district court judge Corker of the Eastern District of Tennessee was nominated by Trump. So this is not exactly a flat, unbiased, on an island ruling, if you will. I'm not inferring anything, but I think it was a great monumental move by Tennessee to take this step. Most states wouldn't have done that, except maybe some more collegiate areas. And so in that sense, I think it's unprecedented, and it really is going to put, the whatever metaphor analogy you want, pedal to the metal, whatever it is, we're going to find out what the NCAA is made of, literally and figuratively.
Well, Brandon, I'll stick with you on this one here. Do you see any scenario where the NCAA kind of appeals this, maybe goes to the head top notches of the state? I read somewhere earlier today that, it wasn't off the table that they would take this to Congress. And kind of an offshoot of that as well. Do you want to see the government getting involved in some sort of coming up with some kind of regulation when it comes to NIL and NCAA?
I'll stop you there. The government needs to be
Antitrust Act already is.
We do not need government involved in college sports and entertainment. Like, get out of here with that. That's crazy. If government gets involved, I'll turn it off and won't watch it.
Hey, yeah. Tennessee is using the government as the Sherman Antitrust Act. That's
but look, I get, in civil suits, that's fine, but that's the only leg they had to stand on against, supposedly the higher power, which, shot themselves in the foot in this situation, right?
Yeah, Tennessee's the plaintiff. They're saying they've been done wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
because there's
Tom's asking if the NCAA would be the plaintiff.
These NIL rules are so broad and so vague. There's no restrictions on it. You can't just come in and start pulling strings at people that found a loophole and went around it, and then all of a sudden try and blame them and act like you're the big end all say all. Like, it doesn't work that way. You've lost when you release the NIL deals with no restrictions. Basically, you lost everything.
They had restrictions though. That's why Tennessee is the one suing, because they fucking violated them.
No. They didn't. No. They didn't violate it because there was no rules. They didn't violate anything. That's the whole point of them.
There's no rules on that.
There were guidelines, yes, no quote rules,
right.
But it was
so
about
the NCAA lost because they tried to enforce something that wasn't in place. Like they were like, oh, shit, we lost the ball, and then we're trying to enforce something that's not enforceable, and it's like, yeah, you can't do that.
I'll find
the best thing they can do is
the other way
salary
around.
cap
I
this
think
thing.
Tennessee got their hand in the cookie jar, and then they said, "Oh wait, antitrust."
No,
Free trade.
Tennessee didn't get their
Free
hands in the
cut the
cookie jar. They
market.
didn't. Like, they didn't violate any rule.
You want to tell me
the
there's
only
not
school called out.
as soon as NIL came out, you want to tell me there's no other school that went out and pursued student
Somewhere
athletes
in Virginia, but that's it.
shit tons of money.
No, Raj, what
They
rule
did it
did Tennessee
before
break?
he signed. They did it as an enticement.
I would too.
No,
Why would you
Tennessee
not?
didn't. No,
That's how
Tennessee
you
did
get them
not.
to sign. That's how you get them to sign.
And that's what the NCAA is the legend that's what Tennessee did.
No.
And in that case, for all
NCAA is
recruits,
alleging
before they even
a
get
group
there
of
and prove
boosters
themselves,
paid
you can
Nico.
just throw money at them.
Yeah, that's not against the rules. There are no
Under the
rules.
Sherman Anti-Trade Act,
No.
if that's what you believe,
No. That's the Sherman
governing
Antitrust Act is what Tennessee is using.
that's what I'm saying.
Right.
But
So
the
Tennessee
NCAA
didn't break any rules because there are no rules to be broken.
No, they did have they had an interim policy that they adopted. And
No, they didn't. There was no policy. There were guidelines.
there was one on June 30th, 2021. But yeah, there are guidelines.
Yeah.
But again, we're just getting into the weeds. But
right. But no, there's a reason why the NCAA lost the case, and they're going to lose this case again because they're in the wrong. So they tried to flex, and then someone called them out on it.
Legally, there is not enough set for the NCAA to prevail. I agree, but this is in court for a reason. They were sanctioned for a reason, or at least called out as a violation of these guidelines.
Took them to court.
That's why I said this is good because we're going to find out what the NCAA is made of. But I think it's wrong to throw $20 million at a kid out in front before.
Well, wrong or right, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's completely illegal.
Yeah, there's a reason why as soon as Tennessee filed suit, everyone was like, NCAA, cower down now because this is not going to end well.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this before when the NIL came up. Like, it's going to come down to the people with money, the schools with money, unless they put a cap on this thing and, either divide it up in like top tier, second tier, third tier, like people with money. It's gonna happen.
And that's where I was getting at with the NCAA running to, the government trying to put a cap on things and trying to get them to force their hands with it, which I think would be an absolute disaster. I think that would take us back. But to put a bow on this real quick, and I emphasize on real quick, is this the beginning of the end of the NCAA, Robbie?
It's the beginning of the end of NCAA football. NCAA football will end within the next 5 years.
Okay. Brandon.
I'm leaning that way as well. I also could see a scenario where the son got bigger than the dad and kind of just stay in your place scenario.
Yeah, makes sense. Raj, what do you think this spells doom for the future of the NCAA?
The NCAA is not the law. The NCAA is not above the law. And when it comes to the law, it is not on their side because they are basically floating in the wind. And yes, I agree with Rob that we will not lose the competition in the sport, but the organization will continually prove to be, in effect, powerless.
Tom, quick question for you. Also quick. And this is all maybe I'm the only one fascinated by this, but I think I am. But does the NFL start to take notice? And what I mean, like, do they feel threatened with this? If there is a hypothetical amateur or just a alternative NFL league, do they start to feel threatened? And the other question is, are there enough? Because so I asked for a short answer. I'm asking a long question. There's only 32 billionaires that own NFL teams. What if there's 32 more billionaires that want to own college football teams?
Well, I mean, I think you look at the scenario that we're going to talk about here, a little foreshadowing. The NFL just abruptly raises the salary cap by 30 million. I think that kind of plays a role in how college football is being laid out at the moment. These kids they're staying. They're going to stay, and they're going to make a mint. So, I think the NFL is paying attention
In
because
theory, Jeff Bezos could buy the Big Ten, the SEC, and create a
Yeah.
league.
and if you look at kind of the direction we're headed towards with a super league, which I agree with all of you. I think within 5 years, the NCAA, when it comes to football, won't have a say in the situation at all. So I think when you look at the potential money maker in a super conference of, even if it's just SEC and Big Ten, there's so much money involved. So there's no question that the NFL is paying attention and already coming up with ways to kind of trump that, so to speak, so they're not affected. But yeah, I mean, I think the NCAA is in trouble. I think they may have gotten away with the Michigan situation, but when you have multiple schools that have a case and they're coming after them, I don't think it's gonna end well for them.
If Michigan's attorney general is not looking at Tennessee's pleading right now and being like, I wish you would.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no question Dana Nessel, who is a Michigan girl, she's definitely paying attention. There's no question about it. So, but yeah, I mean, this is unfolding. This is definitely a fluid situation. But we are going to transition over. But first, we are going to do something that we haven't done in quite some time, and we need to. So we will be right back. Have you or someone you know been involved in an accident, is about to go through a divorce, or needs to file bankruptcy? There's only one law firm to call: Davis, Kessler and Davis. Whether in Chattanooga, Winchester, or anywhere else in the Volunteer State, they are the preferred law firm that gets results. Call them today at 423-267-7000 or visit them online at daviskessler.com. Are you thinking of building your dream house or maybe remodeling your existing residence? Look no further than C&W Construction. They are the premier home construction company in the greater Nashville area. Whether a new build or backyard oasis, they can get it done. Become the envy of all your friends and neighbors. Call C&W Construction at 931-636-3535 and get started today. Raj, easy does it. F the police. You're on, my friend.
I was listening to that earlier and just like, this is just sheer poetry. It would be canceled this day and age. And I have a 9-year-old, and I was about 11 when I was listening to NW Straight Out of Compton and Easy Does It. But I was a much more mature 11-year-old than my 9-year-old. But no, we're transitioning here. And one transition I want to note before we get into the legal things again is that the NCAA, when they did do their NIL deals, basically said it's up to the state in, as long as it doesn't violate state law, that basically some shit can go down. And it's the same way with what we're going to talk about next, because certain conferences have different theories on this, and it's storming the court. And I wanted to do, I don't know where Tom went, because I figured he'd be more positive, or Rob, one of you guys take a pro and one of you guys take the con. And specifically, we're referring to Wake Forest the other night defeating Duke storming the court like I've never seen that many nerds run that fast. And Kyle Filipowski, Duke's best player and most marketable player and highest NIL player, supposedly getting injured to some extent. We don't know, but
I'll take the pro.
I want to hear the pro first. Brandon.
The pro is that guy just reached out and tripped someone. He is a 7-foot dude that bangs around with 200+ pound guys all day, never gets injured, and he's worried about. And I'm quoting, I think Colin Cowherd or whatever said something which really resonated with me. He's worried about Justin with a science major storming the court that's 5'8" and 164 pounds running into it. Like, come on. They've been storming the court for decades, dude. Like, this whole don't run out there. Don't walk across. Don't, like, if you know you're about to lose and you know the court's going to get stormed, then sit down, just take your time and then walk across. Or, suck it up and get through. Like, you're taller than everyone else in there. Like, you're bigger than everyone else in there. And, from that satellite view that we saw, he did stick his leg out and threw his arm, just like Caitlin Clark did, and she alleged that she got ran into. I think this is just an attention getter. It's kind of a whiny, we lost and I'm pissed kind of deal. They've been storming the court for years and no one has ever got seriously injured. Or injured for that fact. You've never even heard about an injury until the last, month or so. So I'm over this. This is complete clickbait bullshit. Suck it up. Be a damn athlete. And, take it on the chin when you lost.
What if he elbows a kid real quick? And as James Thomas noted, that Filipowski played last night and was fine. But what if he takes a kid out with an elbow and he's just trying to get off the court? That would be a potentially bad situation. That's a hypothetical or rhetorical question, rather. Robbie, take the other side.
I'm usually good at arguing one way or the other. I can't really argue like this is. I'm with Shane. This is so stupid. Like, look, they're the only like. So I have two solutions to this problem. One is I actually like Brandon's suggestion. Hey, if you're on the other team, sit down. You're in a different color uniform. Let the police come and protect you. But the other one is I like Clemson's motto. Like, the students, fans are allowed on the court, the field after the game. And so it is not a court storming. Just let them on the field after the game, every single game. You want to come down, they expect this. They know, let the other team get off the court, the field, but you go down, you celebrate. Like, this is a solution looking for a problem, in my opinion. And yes, Caitlin Clark got tons of attention. Filipowski got tons of attention. I rushed the field. I've only done it once in my life when Tennessee beat Alabama.
You cost your school $100,000 plus $30,000 per goal post. Not to mention environmental cleanup.
And like, but yeah, this whole like, oh, you have to have deterrence and all that. No,
I mean, come on, dude. That's just,
dude. That guy behind him pushes him.
And I give it to basketball players now. They're all about the feints and all the flops and all this stuff. So
yeah, I don't remember. Was this a buzzer beater or did they beat them?
No, it was
no.
Not.
They beat them soundly, almost 20.
Duke,
I mean,
Duke
under
players,
the last minute.
I was listening to a radio show when they were talking like Nick Saban went over.
They beat him by
his
4.
Alabama players, like, guys, anytime we lose on the road, they're going to storm the field. This is how you get off, and this is how you get off safely, even though one of Alabama players still punched Tennessee girl, but I digress. But they do it, and like this goes on way more without incident than it does with incident.
Greg Byrne, the Alabama AD, said this week that the home team should forfeit the game.
Oh,
and
that's
no.
It's
I mean,
it's policy though. The ACC has no policy in effect. the SEC fines, like LSU's been fined like 400, 250 grand for this and that, and 100 grand for beating Kentucky last week. South Carolina got Tennessee 100 grand
It's
for
still
beating
college
Bama.
sports, though. I mean, that's what makes college
Part of
sports
it.
great.
Well, it's just the big money schools. When Santa Clara beat Gonzaga, they rushed the court and they got fined 5 grand. UCF beating Kansas 25 grand. But does the fee do anything? And as somebody who was there during the USC era, they became the big dog, and most of the games were at home. But there were times when they had so much security that it was like Red Rover, and they would wait to clear the field of the opposing team. I mean, post-football game, you have 80 kids. They're pissed off. They're 18. Then they'd kind of say, fuck it, and let the kids rush. And I think that's far more feasible to form a line around the opposing team, let them, after the handshake, get to the locker room if there's a handshake, and let the kids come down. There are ways to prevent this, which my next question would be is whose responsibility is that to do so?
I would say it's quite the opposite, Raj. I think it should be the opposite way, that the opposing team needs to sit at bay until the chaos comes, because that's a heated moment, especially if it's a buzzer beater or something and you want to rush the court.
And
like
how
that.
get the guys on the other side of the floor? He's not going
to get back to your bench, sit down.
That's what he was trying to do. It was a 4-point game. He was trying to get back. He was
go to the side, go over somewhere else. I mean, this has been done.
He was in the middle of the court. He was
to all of a sudden make this a
supposed to
huge
do?
ordeal.
I think the big thing here is
if a fan ran into him, or LeBron, or any of these other guys.
yeah, he's a pre-calc major.
Blew out his Achilles, affecting the Super Bowl and Travis Kelce by nothing.
Flipowski in this picture, Flipowski is right near the W, in the middle of the court, exactly where they're going to run. So, you have some obligation to get. Don't go right there.
That kid was trying to dodge him.
This guy pushes him from the back for no reason.
Oh,
he just tripped his best friend.
If that's happening to me. And plus, dude, we all know, coordinated efforts, there's 4 of us, 5 of us if we're boys. We're going to get in his way and wait till he pushes us over, sue, and get some money. I mean, you're going to be smart about it. And that's a nerd school. I'm just saying it's not on Filipowski. It was a 2-point game with 40 seconds left.
I wouldn't even.
I'd say it's on Filipowski 100%, because looking at that angle, I don't care, dude. You're that big. And then you come in, you throw your leg out like that with your arms.
And then he pushed his arms out. So
and that's a flagrant.
Trying to get to the guy to clear him. Now, also legally, as Robbie knows,
dudes running around, or you can't.
I mean, if I'm Filikowski, I'm fucking everybody up then, because a ticket is a license to an event, and the user assumes all responsibility and risk of personal property, injury, anything. So. Fuck it then. Next time,
it's just
so easy to have security.
If you're going to rush the field and you're going to get decked by a player for rushing the field or whatever, or the court, then that's on you. That's on you, right? If you're going to do that. But what kid that's 5'8" is going to try and go after a 7-footer and tackle him?
One kid? No, but 38 kids, and he's just looking elsewhere.
Did you see 38 kids?
They weren't trying to attack him. They weren't.
Not attacking per se, but it's chaos. You got wasted 21-year-olds.
No.
What is he supposed? It's not his responsibility.
Look, he can go. See back at the lower end of the W where people aren't rushing the court. Go back there and sit where the boosters are and just chill.
Sorry, bro, but if you're a competitor, you're not going to sit like a bitch with the boosters and wait for these.
Well, then if you're a competitor, exactly. You can't have it both ways. I'm not going to be a bitch and move on. I'm not going to sit, or I'm going to be a bitch and get pushed over.
Security holds up kids until the other kids.
It's complete.
Still kids also until they're safely removed.
All right. Let's move on.
Tom, I want to get Tom's thoughts on this, and you can close us out, Tom. What do you think?
I think it just kind of narrows down to this. Storming the court has been part of every sport for generations. And has there been injuries to players in previous court storming scenarios? I'm sure there has been. But the bottom line is it's Duke. It's a high profile program. And the coach kind of made it front page news in the press conference talking about, his players were put at risk. But if you're at Cameron Indoor Stadium and they beat North Carolina, those crazies are going to storm the court. What are they going to say then? So I just think it's a whole lot of nothing, and that's what it boils down to. It's something that's been part of the game. You cannot take the emotions out. Robbie and we'll talk about that moment when Tennessee beat Alabama. The initial response was, "I got to get on that field," and 109 other thousand people had the same feelings. So
So
I
why
think
do schools fine then? Why do they get
it's
fined? Why do conferences fine?
because they're trying to prevent it from happening, and it's just
Why?
never going to
If
be.
it's not a
that way.
big deal and the player just needs to get off, why does it matter?
No, because you
Did
don't
they
want to
get
make
fined 15, 20 years ago? No.
no.
It's-
The
it's
reason why they get
Fine.
fined,
like
the
really
reason,
taxed.
so at least in the SEC, the
Right,
reason
right,
why
right.
the reason why they get fined is because you don't want Tennessee or Missouri rushing the field for beating Arkansas. It needs to be special, and
Yeah,
you know what Tennessee's president said? I will write this check tomorrow.
sure,
Absolutely. He was smoking a cigar in the box and said, because this is what college sports is about. And
Absolutely.
honestly, if you didn't I'm biased, but if you didn't watch that game and that atmosphere and you didn't say, holy shit, this is what college sports is about, then you don't have a soul.
yeah, for sure.
No,
No,
I agree. I just think there are.
against Ohio or against Michigan when JT made that fourth down play and it was controversial, and then Curtis Samuel ran it in for a touch. I told my wife, I was like, if we score right here, I said I'm rushing the field. She said I'll be right here, and
He was short.
if I did, I went straight down on that field as fast as I could. I mean, that's just what you do. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
part of the fan experience is part of being, especially
It's emotions. It's
I'm
emotion.
just saying, be smart about it. I watched it in LA 15 years ago, waiting to clear other teams. You can do it in basketball very easily if you have enough personnel. I think they had 4 security guards there. God forbid something were to happen, and Rob knows you sue for pocket. So if something happened to a kid on either side, everybody and their mom's getting sued.
Well,
that's why I thought it needs to go to the reverse of what you said, Raj, because there's not enough security teams on a specific event to control that. So they need to control what they can, which would be the opposing.
So get
team.
more security.
Well, all right,
I mean, that's a small.
Yeah, are you going to
that's
charge
what I'm
an extra
saying.
$50 a ticket for that?
Tom, do I have time to get real nerdy, or do we need to move on?
No, we need to move on. We're 44 minutes in.
Great.
Yeah, this
we're
should
only
have been the whole show today. But
I will say I can tell
gotta
you
move
why the
on.
difference between NFL and
No.
NCAA at some point if someone wants to know. But go on, Tom.
Yeah, we can do it. We can do it next show. But actually, I'm going to take the next one as well, and I won't make it legal. Right now, we are in kind of a gray zone of the entire world, and it's the time when we all feel like our football teams have a chance, especially our 3 teams, because the Titans have the most cap space than anyone else in football at $78.5 million. The Bears,
Second.
who what we're all talking about, at least some of us are second. The Lions are 7th. The Raiders are 11th. The Falcons are 13th. Why do I bring that up? Because it's about to be the free agent frenzy, and right now we all have hope. Now, the first thing to start off with, which is a fairly straightforward answer, but Tom, you want to kind of explain about the increase in salary cap, which was unprecedented, and Rob or Brandon or Tom can kind of explain why supposedly it was done?
I'm not really sure why it was done. My thought process is we all know the NFL is king. We say that all the time on this show. But normally salary cap raises are in the range of, 5 to 15 million a year. This year, it went up $30 million. And that's, you're looking at teams that made a lot of bad decisions in previous years. And then you look at a team like the defending back-to-back and Super Bowl champions, the Chiefs, who were cash strapped when it came to salary cap. Now they've got money in the bank. So why this took place? There's conspiracy theorists out there that'll say, you know what? There's never been a three-peat NFL Super Bowl champion. And are we going to do what we can to help them? I don't fall into that category, but there are people out there that'll think that. But as to why, I'm not sure. I'm sure that some the other guys might know that, but this is definitely uncharted territory for it to raise 30 million. And, as a Lions fan, they had a lot of cap space to begin with. Now you throw an extra 30 million in the mix. Now you have a team that was on the precipice of a Super Bowl. What's stopping them now from, getting there? So, as a Lions fan, I'm excited, but you know what? I think the playing field may be a little bit leveled when it comes to the amount of money that these teams have to spend.
It was odd timing, I can tell you, and Rob or Brandon there was a pandemic excuse associated with this. The verbiage I read was that it's the result of a full repayment of all amounts advanced by the clubs and deferred by players during the COVID pandemic, as well as an extraordinary increase in media revenue for the 2024 season. Perhaps that should have been apportioned, some kind of ratio where one team gets another, not necessarily in views, but yeah, it did bail a lot of teams out. Were there any teams that you guys noticed? Do you guys think it's just total bullshit? Or do you think it's more the NFL just trying to better the product no matter what and keep printing money?
Here we go.
Yeah, go, Brandon.
All right. So we all knew this cap increase was coming, right? Last year there was, I think, or the year before, there was a salary cut on the cap space. So, and that was due to COVID and, all of that. So I think this is nothing but a projected makeup of that cut. So that's why it increased, twofold than what normal is. But yeah, it opened up a lot of bad deals. What we thought were bad deals, and really squeezing the cap on a lot of teams to, hey, now, these teams have money and they can make room and they can excel. And with that being said, Texans are my number one team that is really going to excel here. I would say Texans, Lions, and the Bengals are the top three in the cap space. Titans, not so much. We had a lot of money before this. We were in the top. Problem is, our active cap is 152. Our dead cap space is the highest in the league at 31. And then, to get that extra 30 back, that puts us a little different info than you. I got Washington first, Titans second, Bears third. I do have your Raiders at 10. And I've got the Lions at 7, Texans at 6 now. So we Titans definitely have the highest dead cap, which, kind of hurts. But all that brought Texans back into the AFC South playing field even stronger. Now they can really, really capitalize. They can go after Jones from Kansas City or, whatever to solidify their defense or they can do whatever they want at this point. And they're on a lot of rookie contracts and they're in good shape. So that would be my number one that benefits from this cap increase.
Robbie, what about the players? After Deshaun Watson and the lack of Kirk Cousins being the best free agent, is there a danger that the market just gets so fucking whacked
Oh,
Not that it matters. I'm sure the NFL would compensate, but like, is some ass player going to get 20 a year? You know, like,
oh no, guys. This is players are to read the headlines. Owners are going to read the article. Look, this is very simple.
Well said.
The owners just saw. We just saw 124 million people watch the Super Bowl. Ratings are up. Let's increase the salary cap now, sign players with this money into contracts, lock them in. This next TV market is going to be so lucrative.
Oh.
It's insane. And so, yes, let's spend money right now, lock players in, but they're going to get the money. They've read the headlines.
It's
Money-
funny though; it was already scheduled, right? So
Invest.
now maybe the denomination wasn't, but
Right. Yeah.
it was a scheduled increase.
Yeah, because the TV contracts are coming up. So it's
Right.
going to, yes.
But
So
that's
yeah,
the
so-
same principle Brandon's saying, and then they're like, COVID, 30 mil,
Yes.
better
yes.
product.
Yeah,
Who-
backdated, projected increase over.
Yes,
whatever.
who it benefits most, who it always benefits, the owners. They're going to
Oh,
get
yeah.
players locked in on deals. And when this new TV, the cap's going to keep going up. The TV.
Hey, who's to say NIL didn't affect that too, right?
No,
Like we talked about.
I do think.
There are so many variables and factors that go into analysis and that projection of what they're actually going to determine the number.
Yeah.
is, right?
My question is, and it's always been, will if ever the NFL get rid of this mandatory minimum age requirement? I don't think they will, but there's no reason. I haven't seen a compelling reason for them to yet.
No, especially now with the way NIL is, I don't think that'll change. I really don't, because players are going to stay. Players are just going to stay because they're going to make more money in college, and that's just crazy.
Well,
to think, but
it gives you a year or two to bulk up a little bit more before you get to the
Right.
NFL and tackle these big MF.
you can go from high school to college in the NBA. I think that's a little bit of a different situation when it comes to football. I mean, that's a whole different beast.
Dude, it's
Not in the WNBA.
with the NFL and their money printer, guys. Do you think over or under 2035 pay-per-view Super Bowl?
It's streamed,
under.
streaming,
Streaming
Super Bowl. Yeah,
Meaning,
Yeah,
I think it will be.
I mean,
Something
me and the
that
NFL is
people
going to be like,
hate.
we have to pay to watch this.
But then
If
again,
it's not broke, won't fix it. Like they're increasing revenue annually.
yeah,
Why would they mess that up?
they don't need to change the model.
No.
it'll
per
go
se, with
streaming.
advertising and everything
They
else.
already, they're dabbing into these, streaming games, and that helps the check.
Think about what Peacock paid for one game.
No, I know.
What would Amazon pay for the Super Bowl?
Yeah, but that's a different beast when you're talking
That's
about
different than
When you start
access.
doing that, you're going to start cutting out
Yeah,
a huge chunk of fans that can't.
they'd lose more money than anything than that.
Right.
I don't.
A single game on a Thursday, the fan that can't afford it's like, whatever, I'll just skip this game,
Yeah.
and I'll watch, or I'll go to the bar, whatever. You can't go. They can't
No,
sustain that
Until they do.
No.
I don't see it happening.
I guess we can never question the NFL is the point, but again, last year of the first non-football event in the top 18, I believe, broadcasts that created the highest ratings and the most money was the Oscars at number 15. The top 14 were all NFL primetime games. And then the Super Bowl comes in this year and blows that out of the water. So at this point, it's why reinvent the wheel. I agree with Shane. Moving on to free agents, I guess we'll start with Tom, because at 53 million or so left to spend money on a team that doesn't have a lot of holes. What are you looking for, number one, and who are realistic possibilities for the Detroit Lions to be holding up the Lombardi next year?
Well, I think what we're looking for is defense, specifically secondary. It's no secret they were torched. Cam Sutton was kind of left on islands time after time. He was probably one of the 5 worst corners in the NFL as far as catches against. But
That's Robbie's
what
boy.
happens, why does that happen? I think you got to look at that, the bigger picture. Why does that happen? Detroit just wasn't getting pressure at the to the quarterback. And yeah, Aiden Hutchinson's an all-pro defensive end, but they didn't have a lot of help after that. James Houston missed most of the season. Aleem McNeil missed the most of the season. So they were really thin at that position. So there's 2 guys, and they both play for the Chiefs, that Detroit needs to key on, one of which was just told yesterday that you go ahead and pursue a trade, and that's L'Jarius Sneed. I think he proved in this past season that he's definitely an upper echelon type corner, shutdown quarter, aggressive, and he would fit the mold of a Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell type of team. And then you look at Chris Jones. Chris Jones missed the game against Detroit last year. And what happened? Detroit wins. So I think you line up Chris Jones opposite of Aiden Hutchinson, then your secondary is vastly improved. So basically, you have to improve on the defensive side. Offensively, maybe a couple tweaks at the receiver position, but all in all, this team is right there. And I don't want them to do a whole lot, because we all know what Brad Holmes can do in the draft. Look at what his draft did last year. So I think a couple pieces and having, upwards of $61 million to play with, and having a culture in Detroit. And it's crazy for me to say as a lifelong Lions fan, culture was not what anyone ever talked about around here, but having a culture of winning. And I'm looking at it right now, all grit. And there's players that are going to want to come here. And Detroit has proven, Brad Holmes and Campbell have proven themselves. We're not going to go after the big names. We're going to go after the guys that fit what we want, fit what we're doing. And I have faith that that's going to happen. So give me a couple defensive guys, and I think they should be right back in that scenario.
What about Brian Burns from Panthers?
Burns?
He's a little younger, 26. I think he could do really well opposite of Hutchinson.
And Josh Allen, same draft, because the Raiders have
Josh Allen from
Cleveland Farrell.
I'll tell you. Oh, sorry, Tom. Go ahead.
No. I like Detroit's linebacker situation, but Josh Allen and Brian Burns are linebackers that can get to the quarterback. And I think that's what is lacking. Brian Burns in the Honolulu blue and silver, sign me up all day.
Yeah, and I think, as far as bang for your buck there, I think you get a little bit more longevity, and I think he would be a better fit there.
The free agent that I'm looking most forward to, where he ends up, is Derrick Henry. I think Derrick Henry has a lot in the tank, and
with the right team, yeah,
and he's
only what, 29, 28?
The Titans just ran him on first down every single play right up the middle. Like, some creativity, and he still can run and break tackles. Put him on Kansas City and lights out.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, look, we all know, unfortunately, the running backs are somewhat interchangeable in this West Coast spread kind of offense that we've seen as of late. Derek is one of the few, like, just world beaters. Like, he just will run you over for 4 quarters, and he gets better with time.
Could you imagine if he signs with Philadelphia?
If he gets,
what about Baltimore, dude?
Baltimore, Philadelphia.
Baltimore would be fantastic. Like, if he can just get some outside weapons to take a little bit of attention out of the box, and give him. I mean, he would get
the tush push with Hurts and Henry backing him up.
dude on an offense like that. He would need. I mean, if he had 20 carries a game, 25 carries a game, he would.
Their defense is fucked. Get that guy a ring. Send him to Baltimore.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tom, you got one choice for a free agent right now. Who would it be?
Oh,
And don't think practically. Jalen Johnson on the Bears, a great corner, up and coming corner. One of the rush edges that the Raiders passed up for Cleveland Farrell at number 4. That also made me jump off my roof. T. Higgins, you said receivers. Madubuike, tackle Christian Wilkins, who I know the Raiders are really interested in. Antoine Winfield Jr., an amazing safety. Devin White, also from Tampa.
I think
Majarius.
I Snead would love to have. I think Chris Jones would be great here. But Chris Jones worries me right here. He's a gamer, but he worries me here. Madubuike out of Baltimore. He's young and he has not peaked. He's probably 2 years away from being prime. I think
agree.
you could probably get him. You could probably get him a little bit cheaper than you would a L'Jarius Sneed or Chris Jones. So I think Madubuike is somebody that could come in here. He's not the sexiest name, but I think he's somebody that you could get a lot of value out of. And that's somebody that I would love to see here in Detroit.
I love it. Titans fans, I'm going to do a yes or no with you. Yes or no, would you sign this guy considering how much money? We're going to do a few. Number 1, Baker Mayfield.
No.
No, you're going to roll with what you got.
Yes.
Number 2, Kirk Cousins.
Nope.
Yes.
Why yes, Rob? Considering he's going to be expensive.
Because he wants to draft him on his fantasy team.
If Cousins would have got hurt this year, I would have won our fantasy league.
You say that every year,
No.
and you have Kirk Cousins, and he always disappoints.
He's not a bum. He's not a bum. He's an injured person. He's not a bum, in my opinion, yet. Almost every quarterback is a bum, in my opinion. So,
except for Joe Burrow.
No, Joe Burrow is the biggest bum. I hate that guy. He is like Andy Dalton. Cincinnati quarterbacks are a bunch of bums. But no, I'd take Cousins, but I'm not sure who he's going to throw to. So, actually, never mind. I'm changing my mind. I will not take him. We have no talent. I'm not spending that salary cap on them.
What are you doing at running back aside from Tajay? It sounds like you're going to need a change of pace guy, a thunder and lightning. What are you guys thinking?
Draft someone. I mean, you can get a 4th or 5th round running back, heavier guy, kind of beater in the middle, change of pace if you want, and super cheap.
Does Dalton Connect play football? Like, the Titans are so bad. This is a pointless exercise.
Would you guys agree that wide receiver is the biggest need on the Titans?
Offensive line.
Offensive line?
100%.
The free agent market offensive line is not as good. Let's play wide receiver. The most expensive would be T. Higgins at 24. Then you got Michael Pittman at 26. Mike Evans at 30. Marquise Brown from Arizona. Calvin
Is this a suicide hotline? What's happening here?
Seriously. Those are the best free agents, though.
You need a
producer now.
We just got to go through the draft. Like,
we're in full rebuild. There is no reason to take someone of that caliber and try and throw him on our team. And
we've done that with Randy Moss.
We're not trying to become the Cleveland Browns, where all what have beens go to die. Like, that is not what we are. I don't think we need to take any big names. We need to solidify the offensive line, solidify the secondary, and our defense. Maybe grab another edge rusher.
Plus,
And let's
Hey, no
build.
problem.
Let's see what Levis does. Look, we're in a 4-year, maybe 3-year.
You say rebuild, but you got 78 mils. Does that mean you go with younger, lower
hold
price?
on now. Amy Adams hasn't even cashed that $2.4 billion check we've written her yet. So once she cashes that, then we'll talk.
Listen, they have a system here. Their goal is to be good by the time the stadium opens, right? And so they can sell tickets and blah. We're in full rebuild. They blew up the whole entire team. That's what's happening. Why would a Mike Evans want to come and play for a Will Levis with no offensive line and no running back?
He wants to come play in Detroit.
So what do they do with their money?
Save it, invest it, I guess. I don't know. I mean, put it towards the stadium that we got to pay taxes on. I mean, shit. I don't know.
Ask the city of Nashville for more money.
You're not going to get a Mike Evans to come over here that, have Will Levis, missing by 7 yards. So
Calvin Ridley can come over and bet on how many. And that's my last question. All three of you, Titans record 2024. Tom?
I'll go 7-10.
Rob?
It's a bad division.
Oh, I would say 4-13.
Shane?
6-11.
I'm going to go in the middle of you guys and go with 5-12.
Yeah.
Just because of like what Shane said, Houston, Indianapolis are both in good positions with a lot of money. Of course, we don't know about Richardson, but everybody else
Callahan, head coach, like we got a whole new regime going on. We don't know what the draft looks like. We got all this money and no one to spend it on because no one wants to come here. It's like we're in full rebuild. We have to get rookies and build a base.
It's like Tom in a strip club.
This is front office work here. This is where they have to dig in, and the front office has to draft those guys that don't have a choice, and they have to build a team from that. You're not going to get a Jones or a Evans or all these guys that have status in the league and that are trying to win a Super Bowl to come to Tennessee Titans.
Hey, 30 million more. It may take less than you think. But speaking of strip club, because you guys are getting worked up and I get worked up in strip clubs, I'm going to go to somebody who doesn't get worked up at anything, it seems, and that's Tom. Tom, tell me about, honestly, like I keep up with stuff because my perspective in life sucks, but this Justin Jefferson thing kind of hit me out of nowhere. Can you explain like what the fuck's happening there and why?
I'm really not sure. The only thing that kind of tells me is that they don't want to spend Kirk Cousins money. They don't want to go out and spend money on Kirk Cousins. And Justin Jefferson's made it known if Kirk Cousins in Minnesota, he's going to be in Minnesota too. He really likes playing with Kirk Cousins. So all indications are there's a lot of uncertainty. And it's interesting because I think Minnesota really has the potential to make a run at the North. If Cousins was there, maybe they make Detroit. They give Detroit a little bit more a run for their money. So I think they're looking at financially. You sign Kirk Cousins, it's going to be 4 years. It's going to be upwards of $200 million. And Justin Jefferson has already said, I want the bag and I want to win. So that's going to cost them an arm and a leg. So you're going to wrap up how much of your salary cap, how much of your team, figure here in just two players. That's going to limit them in other.
They've got $38 million, by the way, in salary cap.
Yeah, so I think they're looking at it as far as let's get ahead of it. Let's not wait till it's a contract year. Let's see what we can get. And the rumor I'm seeing is Kansas City. Now, what's Kansas City going to give up to get him? And what's the price tag for 1 year essentially with the best receiver in football? Are you willing to give up multiple first round picks second-round picks and players and too.
To go
So
three-peat?
yeah. I
I
mean,
would.
I guess they could do that because they have a neck. But
Hey, and it's all about
Gave up
structured
Tyreek Hill and
contracts here.
still won 2 Super Bowls. Why would you give up something else for Jefferson when you got Rashee Rice? As long as Kelsey's there, I wouldn't do that shit because that's going to be.
I'm not saying I would either. I'm just saying, I could see a scenario where that happens. But look, Patrick Mahomes is like Brady,
Sure.
right? Like
Sure
he
he is.
makes people better. Like he will throw you open. Like he's that dude,
Yep.
right? So you don't have to spend a lot of money on the other fancy jewelry and rings and necklaces when you got the dude right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And especially Kelsey, that's his binky. It's his safety blanket. Like that's
For sure.
that's the other guy, right?
Yep.
Solidify the offensive line, have a solid defense that shows up postseason like they do.
Yep.
And I mean, that's what you get. But yeah, I mean, would that be a phenomenon if Jefferson went there? Absolutely. But Tyreek was there and they won.
They've won 2 Super Bowls, yeah.
And they won without him.
Mhm.
Like, it doesn't matter. It's Patrick Mahomes, bro. Come on.
Yep.
Doesn't matter.
The last thing, I didn't mean to interrupt. Last thing I was going to say about this is ESPN, as of a couple days ago, made a prediction, and that would be Russell Wilson being the starter and drafting Bo Nix as his backup for 1 to 2 years, eventually taking over the reins, comparing Nix to Cousins. But I want to move on quickly before we get into the most important thing in the world, which is racing. Rob, where does Justin Fields end up? Is it Chicago or Atlanta or Pittsburgh or Oakland, Las Vegas? I'm asking that to each of you.
So
Where
if it was
happens
me,
you?
if I'm Chicago, I stick with Fields. I get a better coach to coach Fields. But it's not me.
Then what do you do at number 1?
I trade it. They've already got more draft picks. I think Fields is a good quarterback. I think with the right coach, the problem with Chicago has hired the wrong coach for about 20 years in a row now. And
their offensive line has sucked ass.
Yeah, and so I would
trade. What the common denominator is the front office.
Yeah.
That's been the biggest issue, right?
Yeah, Fields can play, and so what you're going to do is you're going to trade. So let's say you trade Fields and you draft Caleb Williams. That's the same problem you just inherited. It's like they're just not a good run organization. So I'd keep Fields, take the picks, trade Caleb Williams, the number 1 pick, get more picks, draft the offensive line, protect him, give him a chance because he's going to be good somewhere else if they do trade him.
Yeah, I mean he's fairly accurate. Like, I mean, he's not, he's above average accuracy, I would say, and he can scramble a little bit. So, I mean, it's kind of Lamar-esque, but not as fast and as athletic as Lamar. But accuracy, I would say, is on the same level. And scramble mode, quick twitch is there, but longevity run,
So Brandon, let me ask this. Justin Fields being a successful quarterback, yes or no, what's the percentage odds? 70-30?
Oh, yeah, I would think that's fair.
Yeah, so Caleb Williams is 50-50 because that's every NFL draft pick.
Right.
So you already have a guy that you think 70-30.
You've already got game film on this guy. You know what to do, right? You get the right coach and the right team around him. You can build.
Yeah, I agree with Brandon there.
You can build.
I think I'm biased. Caleb is a generational quarterback, in my opinion. The Bears OL played much better. The skill position was awful. He established a rapport with DJ Moore, who's been a fantasy. He's been my Kirk Cousins or Joey Burrow.
I'm a little worried about it.
It's just the lack of skill positions and other things and play calling. which I'll get onto that in a second, but converting that into points. But they played damn well down the stretch, and Eberflus went to being basically about to get axed to being fine going into next year. So
I'm a little worried about Caleb. Like, probably a bad analogy, but like Antonio Brown syndrome kind of deal. Like, super athletic, way above talent, all the talent in the world, and then just somehow mentally is just not able to handle everything. That's
I don't think you'll have a problem with that. I think he's one of the strongest individuals mentally when it coming into this game, and he may be misunderstood by seconds of television, but no, I think the biggest strength is his mind. But I understand it's a crapshoot no matter what. I mean, Fields was drafted at what, 2 or 3? So, Tom, where do you think Fields ends up? What's I'll throw out some scenarios. You guys tell me if the compensation's right.
I think he's going to Pittsburgh. He has a relationship with Tomlin, and that's known. They're not confident in
now Mason Randolph again.
Yeah, or their quarterback. His name escapes me.
What was it? Not Pickens. That's
Pickett.
Pickett. Yeah, Kenny Pickett. So I think in all reality, Pittsburgh is a quarterback away from competing in that AFC North, and it's a division that has Lamar Jackson, and I think you put him behind an offensive line, I think he won't have to rely on his ability to make plays with his legs if he can sit back in the pocket and make throws. Justin Fields got an arm.
Yeah,
I mean,
he moves the
college.
football.
He was dynamic
like I said, he's above average in accuracy.
But in Chicago, when you take the snap and you can't even make your first progression, you're already running for your life.
Getting touched at 1.4 seconds. 1.5 seconds.
It doesn't matter. You're going to rely on your instincts, and his only instincts that he has the ability to do are run. But that also poses problems in the sense that he's not durable. And how can you blame the kid when it's the third quarter and you've been hit, upwards of 10 to 12 times? So, and that's offensive line. So I think that's where Chicago needs to focus primarily on. And if Chicago decides to keep him, I think they trade the number 1 pick and they can get a haul, because there's so much generational talent front loaded that these teams want. So I think Chicago's in a good position as far as if they keep him, okay. If they trade him, okay. So Chicago's in a good spot.
No, I agree. As a Raider fan, I would love to have them, especially with their skill positions surrounding receivers, Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, Josh Jacobs, obviously, offensive line that has 3 unrestricted free agents, but that is improving and played way over their ability. A team that went 5-4 down the stretch and really shut down Kansas City on Christmas. And that was Kansas City's last loss. So Andy Reid even credited the Raiders for once. Now, it was a backhanded way, but there's been talks of Hunter Renfrow, who was a Pro Bowler, and Derwin James, one of the best safeties in the NFL, says the Raiders are stupid, man, that he is a different kind of cat. He's an amazing receiver. He's slippery. Like, they should throw him the ball more. The Raiders have their pick at 15, I believe, and they have number 73, 2 third-round picks. So we'll see what it takes. The Falcons have their 8th or 9th pick. I don't think you want to swap for that for Fields and give them 3 picks in the top 10, but it's going to come down to maybe some players and maybe some picks, 2nd round and later. But, we'll see. As a Raider fan, like I said, he moves the football. I think he'd be great in Vegas and great on that turf. He turned 24 2 days ago. He's under contract for this year. Next year, he's got a $25 million option, so he's a UFA in 2026. So give him 2 years with us, especially while we got Devontae, and let it ride. But we'll see what the other teams do. But if I'm the Bears, I trade him. Although I do see the love in getting 8 picks and then selecting. But then again, who says that's a good thing? As a Raider fan, fucking usually our draft picks are pieces of shit. And that organization is not exactly known for finding gems. But finally, let's get into what was a wild finish in Atlanta with a Mexican American, or if he just Mexican citizenship, Daniel Suarez winning by a nose over a couple of dudes like Ryan Blaney again. Wow. How surprised were you guys, Tom? I'll start with you.
Well, before I give my comment, let's watch the video.
Yeah.
Where does he block? Does he block high? Does he block low? Here it comes. Kyle Busch to the middle. Shooting a gap. No help with Kyle Busch.
Oh, Suarez right alongside him. 3 wide. Off turn 4. Here they come to the flag. 3 abreast. Photo finish.
I think it's Blaney. Unbelievable. 3 wide finish. Have you ever seen anything like that?
Scoring.
Finish is under review.
Scoring has the margin between the first 3 cars at 0.00 seconds.
How awesome was that?
Yeah, dude. If Talladega's like that in every race I'm fucking there.
I think that the biggest surprise for me was there wasn't a wreck in the last lap, because clearly the last few races, I mean, they're going for it. And what Suarez did there, he took to the outside, which is risky. It's risky in a sense that now you're potential clipping another car, creating a chain reaction, but he took to the outside, and it didn't seem like Busch or Blaney did anything to react to it. Blaney had the stretch. He had the inside. I think he had the advantage when it came down to it, but Suarez just went for it, and it paid off. That finish was nothing I've ever seen before, and it was literally a nose. And in real time, you would have thought Blaney got it, but no. I mean, Suarez.
I thought it was Blaney also, but
yeah, it looked like Blaney, but you break it down, and the fact that he took to that third lane to go 3 wide. I mean, I'm sitting here watching it. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's going to be a 3 wide finish here, and I'm just waiting for carnage to happen. And I guess you look at Kurt Busch, he was sandwiched in the middle. One quick turn of the wheel, they could have wiped both of them out. So, I mean, that just shows the professionalism of the drivers in that aspect. And man, what a race. And even if you're not, a big NASCAR fan or a racing fan, you can't help but not look at that and be like, man, that's pretty cool. Like a finish like that, and hearing the emotions of the announcers, and it was really cool to see, and good for Daniel Suarez, who got his first career win, whose major sponsor is Tootsie's on Broadway there in Nashville. So good for the 99 car.
Irony, a Mexican guy sponsored by the original country establishment
Absolutely
on Broadway. Yeah, I mean, his future at Trackhouse Racing was, needless to say, in big time doubt.
Well, they got Chastain, who's probably the bad boy in NASCAR right now, and those two are Chastain's about as aggressive as any of them in there. So they're making their move, that's for sure.
That was insane. I was going to ask Robbie, because you brought up a great point with Blaney and Busch. It was almost like they were looking at each other and not kind of considering or chain that, like, never mind, Suarez on the outside. We don't even know who that guy is. Not that that's a feasible strategy in racing. And I know a lot has to do with the car, but we were just talking, Shane, about how did Daniel Suarez sneak in there at the end, and is there some truth to the fact that Busch and Blaney were focused on Busch and Blaney?
Mm-hmm.
If we can
yeah, for sure, and that's smart on his part to take advantage of that, right? Like when they're up there fighting together, they're taking wind off each other and they're slowing down slightly. I mean, very, very slightly. But in NASCAR, every quarter of a breeze that blows over, that all matters. Drafting, side drafting, all that. So I think taking advantage of that very, very small window of opportunity to slide in there and take advantage of that, it was huge on his part. Really good racing for a rookie. But you said, being aggressive, I kind of heard you talk about that, dude. That is NASCAR. I mean, if you're not aggressive, there's always big wrecks, especially restricted car plate races. I mean, you're going to see the big
third lap last week.
It's always close to the last lap. There's occasionally one in the beginning, but most of the time it's, last 20 laps. There's a big one.
Yeah, the
conspiracy
this past week it was
out though. I even read the conspiracy theorists that after all the wrecks and bad pubs and finishing under caution, that these three guys are right next to each other rubbing tires and nobody's. You would think that would turn into a wreck with how badly those guys want to win, and it didn't. Why didn't it? What do you say to the conspiracy theorists that
Well, that's the talent of these guys, like how good they are. Like when you're that close, you're not going to jeopardize, that bump or whatever. Now, there are some that do that out of spite close to the end, or out of really just trying to take their shot, and they just make a slight wrong move. They catch a fender, spin someone around, and it causes, a 20-car pileup. I mean, that's just
guys we know about there, right?
Yeah, and I mean that's just racing, dude. That's always been racing. It's the same as storming the court. Like it's part of the sport. Like
yeah, exactly.
You're gonna get that, and if you can't take it, pick a different damn sport.
Yep. I agree.
But what were your overall thoughts on Atlanta?
Oh, it was great. I didn't watch the entire race. I did watch the highlights and that's just. I love races like that when they come down to a clean finish like that. You don't have these caution restarts and, caution finishes, which I hate that bullshit rule that's new that they did. But this is how it's supposed to finish, in my opinion. And I don't care how many cautions you go through. They should get it back to where you finish this way, in my opinion. Like this. I don't care if it takes 6 hours, take it to a long inning baseball game. Like let them restart and race that final lap until you see something like this, because that is what's great about the sport. And they were respectful. Like I said, they're not going to jeopardize that win over a bump here and there, because that would cause all three of them to lose right at that point. And then, John Joe from, 17 cars back wins the race. And he had no contention. So
I can tell you, as the ambivalent fan, that would be
I used to be a big NASCAR fan.
I mean, if there's a notification, restart, final 3 laps after X amount, I would tune in to see what I just saw every fucking time.
No, it's great.
That was cool.
And dude, and if you get into the analytics of it, especially you, Brainiac, Raj, you would love the analytics of it. I swear you would.
I know there's so much more going in
the strategy
on the track.
The thought of it. 2 tires, 4 tires, splash of fuel, full fuel,
and that's
aerodynamics, and
that's really what they did there. The last 40 to 50 laps, most drivers did a quick pit. They did 4 seconds of fuel just enough.
And you see what the leaders are doing, and that completely changes your pit stop based on what they're doing. So there's so much strategy and like instantaneous thought process that goes through it. And
who's going to pit first?
have a great crew chief and a great pit crew that recognizes that within a split second, and that can do that. I mean, you'll be pulling into pit stop, and all of a sudden they're like, you thought you were coming in for 4 tires and a full fuel, and they're like, no, we're doing 1 tire or 2 tires and a splash of fuel and get back on, and you're done in 17 seconds. And it's incredible, really, the science behind it. Like I said, talking about NASCAR's got me kind of fired up about it, watching it again, just because I do remember I wasn't a fan of it, because watching them go around in a circle for 400 laps, it just got boring. And then once you start to understand the strategy and everything behind it, then you understand, okay, this is the reason they made that move. This is why they're doing that. And then you see guys sitting back, middle of the pack, the whole race, and then last 20 laps, they're in the front for a reason.
Judging a book by its cover. We all do it,
Oh,
my
yeah,
wife
for sure.
didn't know anything about football.
Well, it's a
even the
redneck
Lakers
sport per se, and it's like blah blah. But it's actually pretty intelligent sport, to be honest.
And I've seen some of the F1 show on Netflix, and that's just like looking at $12 million machines, and I'm just like,
right,
what? And like the amount of
they
money
don't quite wreck them like
the
they
world's
do
greatest
stock.
scientists.
No, they don't.
No. Yeah, this guy was like, "What button do I press for this?" And I'm just like, "What?"
Most of these teams that come to NASCAR races, they have 3 or 4 cars, right? So they're trying them out and they're seeing which one's running best. They have different setups on each car. They're running, seeing what setup works best for this track, and they have all the data from previous years, but everything changes. Temperature, humidity, all that affects everything. So there's so much science that goes into it, which is incredible to think of, for some dumb redneck sport where, a guy's running around a circle in a stock car as fast as he can. It's way more than that.
Well, speaking of all of that, it's all about to head into the world's best and worst city on earth, and that is Las Vegas. I think it's the 400. I can't remember.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you guys like in this, and why? I mean, we talked about humidity and obviously it's very dry there, and the heat. What type of cars do you expect to see do well? Who's done the best? Who do you guys like in this race? And it could be part of Bet Your Nuts, but maybe give a few guys to look out for.
I think you look at Denny Hamlin, who has had a pretty frustrating first 2 races. He got wrecked last week. He was involved with a couple spin outs. This guy, if you've watched the Netflix documentary, he's cocky, but he's good. He backs it up. And he's fallen short in the last couple of weeks, and he's been there. He just couldn't get over the finish line. So he's somebody that I really look to make some noise. The Toyota cars in general, Tyler Reddick was involved in the massive wreck in Daytona. He was running top 10, got knocked out. Last week, 3rd lap of the race, he was basically wiped out. So here's a driver that finished in the top 5 last season, who hasn't got off the schneid, hasn't had the ability to get off the schneid. So I think you're looking at the number 45 car to make some noise. The Toyotas in general, the 2311 Racing, led by Michael Jordan and the aforementioned Denny Hamlin. So look for them to make some noise going into Las Vegas.
Writing that down. Shane?
I mean, the repeat winner, potentially, William Byron. I mean, he won last year in Vegas, knows the track well. I think he's got a really good shot to repeat. I mean, he's in odds right now. He is plus 250 to finish top 3. So, I mean, he's obviously favored in that top tier. And everyone knows what happens at the last 2-3 laps. So he'll be right there. I could easily see him repeating.
I love it. I know we went a little long after the NFL and going into this, and Robbie was pissed off because he wanted to do Bet Your Nuts. But did Robbie take off? Did he have to go? His roommate, i.e. wife, definitely runs a show.
I think his computer died on him. So
are you fucking kidding me? Guy that owns like 10 properties is an attorney and he never heard of a plug. But well, let's do it, dude. Let's get into Bet Your Nuts.
It's time for Bet Your Nuts.
I'll go first quickly.
Yep.
I'm scared of this game because Loyola Chicago has been playing pretty well until just getting their ass kicked at St. Bonaventure, and I have a very good friend who is a Dayton Flyer. So I'm going to take tomorrow night the Dayton Flyers -1.5 on the road at Loyola Chicago. Let's go. Who's next?
Since I'm next to you on the screen, I'll go. Kind of piggyback off of what I said earlier. I like Denny Hamlin in this race. You can't keep a good man down, and I think the number 11 car comes through. Currently sitting at +1,000 to win the race, and the Toyotas are at +170 to win. So I'm backing those Toyotas, even though I don't drive one, and I never will. I like their cars.
1,000.
I like their drivers. +1,000 for the number 11 car, the number 11 FedEx Toyota.
I'm a big fan of assholes. My wife used to be, not anymore. But yeah, dude, I'd love to see that guy win. It's good for racing.
Yes, it is.
I'm going to go. I've got one golf, obviously, that I was going to do, but talking this whole NASCAR thing and looking at the lines, I really love that William Byron, top 3 finish at 750. I think that's a lock, dude. I really think so. With his repeat is very potential. His chances to win are only +850. So you take that ratio to top 3. I really like those numbers. Kind of the same thing here in golf. Cameron Young, he is 1 back on the lead right now. 7 under's the lead. He's 6 under. Second round leader, he's +700 to take over. And there's a couple rookies in front of him, some people that haven't won tournaments yet. So I like him to finish second round as the leader at +700, because to win the whole thing, he's +750. So that's pretty good odds there, in my opinion. So those are my 2 Bet Your Nuts.
I love it. I'm seeing Byron at +900 for the winner. I'm trying to find the top 3, but this is on BetMGM.
I've got it's on Caesars. I've got Larson, Bell, and Byron are the top 3. Larson is +425, Bell's +800, Byron's +850.
Robbie is taking the 2023 Cup champion Ryan Blaney, who finished second last week to take home the checkered flag.
Blaney's +900. So,
damn, dude, those seems like really high odds for really good racers.
Well, it's really hard to bet, so it's always plus money. It's always super high plus money because it's just crazy. Like I said, last 3 laps, you never know.
Anything can
young
happen.
Christopher Bell, right? Chris Bell's the young kid, right?
Yeah, Chris Bell, 850.
I love it. All right, dude. Well, I may bet auto racing for the first time in my fucking life, and if I don't spontaneously combust, then and if I do, the shows will get shorter. So win-win. But let's Tom, you run the show. Let's get into final words.
Final words for me, and I know we don't talk this sport enough, Raj. I know you have some interest in it. But what Detroit fans experienced this past weekend, the word I will say before I go into this video clip, showtime. Here's the clip.
Got it through for Sherratt. Dylan Larkin near side. Left for him. Larkin gets the speed going. Back pass, Kane. He scores! What a setup! What a goal! Showtime! 2-1! Red Wings with Kane in Chicago! He scores!
Oh my God!
Kane with the overtime winner! The Red Wings win it 3-2! The story is complete on Kane's return to Chicago!
That's a 33-21 team. That's the best hockey city in America. I thought I was watching Yzerman to Fedorov right there. That was a beautiful drop pass and leaving the puck and just
it's great.
beautiful games.
Patrick Kane has been with the Red Wings for about a month and a half. 36 years old, coming off of basically exploratory hip surgery. So you didn't know what kind of a player you were getting. The Wings went after his guy, Alex DeBrincat, last season in free agency. Him and Kane played together in Chicago. They were a tandem. Kane is here because of DeBrincat's here. And he has been all as advertised. Showtime Kane goes into Chicago. His first time back in Chicago after 16 years, 3 cups. I mean, he's probably the greatest American-born hockey player to ever lace up skates in the NHL. And it was a storybook ending. Overtime, breakaway. It was unbelievable. But what's happened here, it sparked the Red Wings again. It's Hockey Town again. It's buzzing, and it's on the tail end of what the Lions did. So this city has been in the doldrums for many years. And between the Lions, between what the Red Wings are doing right now, and the hope for the Tigers, man, it's exciting around here. Enough so that we booked a trip to Nashville in March to see the Red Wings play at Bridgestone. So I can't wait for that. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be a
great hockey arena. Like I said, it sucks now that they're good and have been good because I sat against the glass back in the day for like $70. And now it's like 500 for those seats. I'm like, God damn inflation and success.
So the caravan will be coming down to Nashville next month.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Hockey's better with the Lions, but Shane,
Red Wings,
please.
Yeah. I mean, that's awesome. Again, hockey's another sport that if you just see it on the surface, it just looks like, they're slinging pucks back and forth, but there's so much that goes into that with the lines and changing and a lot of that. But I digress. Final words. I'm just going to go back to this storming the court thing because it's just pissing me off, man. What are we really doing? Like, this is just, in my opinion, it's nothing but clickbait. I mean, people are getting butt hurt because they lost. Same with, it started with Caitlin Clark. And I'm taking nothing away from her. She is a phenomenal basketball player. Not just woman, basketball player. Phenomenal. But again, video evidence showed she kind of initiated contact. The same with the Duke dude. Like, stop, guys. Come on. Just take it on the chin. You lost. It sucks. It hurts. There's no reason to draw more attention to something that's a sore for you. So suck it up. Be real athletes. Move on and improve it on the court next time. Or the ice or the field or whatever you want to do.
For the links. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I respect your opinion. We're going to talk more about this as we go on because it's interesting and it's the off season, but I have a few other takes on that. But my final words are involving leap year. And producer Tom extraordinaire, Tom, if you will, I'll describe this picture. One of my best friends, Eli, was Born on leap year in 1976. We met when I was 5. And we used to make him cry when we were in elementary school by singing Eli's only 2 years old, 2 years old. And he'd be like, shut up. Well, when he turned 30, he was the only Clipper fan I ever knew. He was one of those kids that always took the opposite because everybody in LA is a Laker fan. And they were 12-70 with Joe Wolf. There's their leading scorer. And we're calling Jim Rome. And he's the only one asking about, how do you think the Clippers are going to do? And Rome's like trying not to blow him up when he was on the mighty 690 back in the day in San Diego. But I decided to get him the birthday package with the Clippers when he turned 8, i.e. 32. And told them he was 8. And I didn't lie. And his name was on the big board. And the Clipper girls came to our seats with balloons and pom-poms, like ready to take photo op pictures. And I can't
That's
believe
a big 8-year-old.
Yeah, dude, we were 8 beers deep, not 8 years old. And yeah, the faces on, like, I had to say, it's not creepy, he's leap year. Like, because at first they thought we were like just trying to get them over and then murder them or something. But no, and now the time period that Clippers Jumbotron saying his name can drive a car. It's been 16 years, which fucking trips me out. But it is one of his real birthdays, like the Olympics. Happy 12th birthday, Eli. I can't really do any more Jumbotrons because it's never going to be like the time when the Clipper girls saw 2 drunk 8-year-olds.
Only you, Raj. Only you.
Love it. Well said, buddy.
Oh,
It was outstanding. But anyways, for all of us, a great show. You knew we were going to get talking, especially with all this legal, opinionated liability shit and free agency and an amazing finish that I'll even say I loved at Atlanta. I'm starting to like racing. Please kill me for myself, Raj.
I'm telling you, don't judge it.
I'm not judging it. I'm more judging myself for myself, for Robbie, who doesn't know how to plug in a fucking computer or pay an electricity bill despite being worth God knows what. For a highly impassioned Brandon Chain today, usually who cannot be as a business owner and a golfer extraordinaire. So I love to see it. And for the guy behind the curtain, for the Wizard of Oz, Tom, Resurgence in Detroit, Sloan. Again, I'm Raj. Thank you for watching.
see you guys next time.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Reckless Speculation. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube searching Reckless Speculation. Catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. We look forward to catching you right here next week with another exciting episode of Reckless Speculation.